Good evening and thank you for joining us on Sunday Interview. I'm your host, Grevazio Zulu. The National Dialogue Forum finally started its sittings last week. Delegates at the forum have so far spent 7 days looking at various clauses in the Constitution and other acts that impact on the governance of the country. On the program this evening, we look at whether this is what the nation anticipated. Is the process on course? My guest, a strong proponent of the Dialogue Forum and a leader of the opposition Rainbow Party, Mr. Wynter Kabimba. Sir, welcome to the program.
Well, thank you very much and good evening, Grevazio.
I said strong proponent of the National Dialogue Forum, and this is what other people have said called a divisive process, a process that may turn out to be a sham, and you are known to be a staunch supporter of probably what is right and a strong lawyer. Do you at some point get worried that if the process does not pan out to what people wanted, your name would forever be tainted?
Yeah, okay. Let me say what I said last time, if I recall when I appeared on the program. Firstly, I said last time that I'm an advocate of politics of engagement. That politics is about engaging the other side, engaging your opponent. And this is not a position that I've just taken now. This is the position that I took even when I was in PF in 2006, when there was a question whether or not PF should attend the National Constitutional Conference. I was an advocate at that time, probably a lone voice in the Central Committee that PF must attend the NCC. And this to me is history repeating itself. You know, I found myself again in a similar situation should the Rainbow Party attend the National Dialogue Forum. And together with my colleagues in the party, we believe that we must practice politics of engagement. Will the forum dent my name? I'm not afraid of failure in my life, because you can draw lessons even from your failure. You can draw lessons even from what you have not done right in life. But I can tell you, the 7 days that I've spent at the forum with other delegates, I do not see prospects of the NDF ending up in failure or disappointing the Zambian people. I think for the first time in many years, Grevazio, we are likely to come up with a product in terms of the Constitution and other subsidiary pieces of legislation that we are looking at that will meet the aspirations of the people.
You're likely to come up with a Constitution that will meet the aspirations of politicians?
No.
Stakeholders, as you would want to call them, and not the general masses.
I didn't
say general populace.
I didn't say politicians. I said a constitution and subsidiary legislation that will meet the aspirations of the people of Zambia. Because I'm a Zambian. I've lived here all my life. I studied constitutional law at the university. I've continued to participate in constitutional processes. So I know and understand the cries of the Zambian people since 1973, when Dr. Kenneth Kaunda introduced the one-party state after the Chona Commission. I've also followed the subsequent constitutional review commissions. So I understand pretty well what the Zambian people are looking for, or what the Zambian people have been looking for. And I think it is that understanding that I take with me to the forum.
Now, let me ask you, do you think you're making progress at the forum?
I think we are making tremendous.
I know we'll go into details on what people want and what they do not want.
Grevazio, I think we are making tremendous progress, you know, at the forum. The atmosphere is cordial, and there is mutual respect for one another, mutual respect for one another's views, and I can't see any better platform
than the forum.
Now, in its present state.
What are the indicators showing you that you're on course, parameters to measure your success?
Firstly, it is the framework itself. What is the forum anchored on? It is anchored on the resolutions of political parties that were arrived at in Siavonga in June of 2018. And if you look at the National Dialogue Act, in its objects, it actually makes it very clear that the objects of the act are to facilitate the implementation of the Siavonga resolutions. And that is repeated, it is repeated in section 4 of the act. So we have a framework. That is point number one. Second point is that we are also just not at large. We are not just beating about the bush. We have an act of parliament that is directing us how the forum should be conducted and what it is intended to achieve at the end of the day.
Can you share with us some of the key issues that have been debated and concluded in the 7 days that have just gone by?
Well, let me just give you this caution that I'm not the spokesperson of the forum. I'm just one of the delegates, at the forum. I belong to Group 3 because the forum has been divided into 4 groups: Group 1, 2, 3, and 4. So I'm a member of Group 3. And there are certain things that we have discussed in Group 3 that, in my view, still remain confidential until they go to the plenary and they are accepted
by the majority
at the plenary. So I hope I don't get tempted into
to divulge what you've
to divulge or discuss, because that would be an act.
But why should constitution making be a secret? Really, shouldn't people know?
It's not.
Shouldn't people understand what you're debating? What
it's
you're
not a secret. No.
What you're agreeing on and what the points that you have disagreed on.
It's not a secret.
Isn't this the people's constitution?
It's not a secret. It's a matter of procedure. Okay, there is a procedure that all of us must follow in order to reach the end of this process. So in terms of that, I'm reluctant, to go into the details. We can discuss the generalities of what is going on there, and I would be able to respond if you asked, some general questions. Like I've said, we have adopted the Siavonga resolutions, and the way we did it was that because the Siavonga resolutions came from a consortium of political parties that are represented in parliament and political parties that are outside parliament. There were some stakeholders that are delegates at the forum, but who were not in Siavonga. So in order to bring them on board, the first thing that we had to do was to reaffirm the Siavonga resolutions. And I'm glad to say that except for one clause, all the resolutions of Siavonga were actually adopted
and agreed on. Now, I know you don't want to delve into these issues, but let me pick one of them. Yeah. I know that you've discussed the presidential petition, the duration, and how it should be handled. And I know that at group and committee stage, there's been no agreement per se. There's been an impasse, and this will be subjected to a vote in the plenary.
Yeah.
Now therein is the problem. It is not always that the majority is right.
No. It's not always that the majority.
So the majority will carry the day. Based, and Zambians will have, in the end, will have a law passed by the majority at the forum.
Look,
who are in effect a minority.
Look, democracy is about the majority. Unfortunately, democracy is about the majority. Democracy is about the representation. Okay? The way it has developed from what they used to call Athenian democracy in Greece, where everybody in the village used to meet to make resolutions. When they saw that the villages were becoming larger and larger. Then they decided this route cannot work, so we need to arrive at decisions now using representatives from the villages. So we have gone into representative democracy. So at one point, but the point where we are now is that the representatives in the name of delegates at the forum who reflect the views of the majority of the Zambian people, because don't forget that this is a consortium of political parties, civil society organizations, the church,
largely political parties and civil societies.
No. In fact, if you look at the numbers, Grevasio, the political parties are even in the minority.
MPs, you'd consider them as politicians.
Yes, MPs are politicians, of course. But if you look at the numbers, we are actually in the minority.
Plus civil society?
No, civil, unless you want to consider civil society as being on the side of politicians. But
I want to draw you into a discussion of whether what was agreed on in the previous Constitutional Review Commission and reform process was more inclusive than the one you're participating in now. Is the NDF more inclusive than the previous Constitutional Review process? Meaning, why should they undo what the larger majority of Zambians agreed on?
What do you mean? Can you be
For instance, you will have a majority at the NDF voting to undo a clause like the presidential petition on voting. But then, this is what Zambians agreed on and put in the constitution.
Yeah, but you also recall that that clause posed problems in the post-2016 presidential election, in terms of counting the 14 days. Was it 14 working days? Did the 14 days include the weekends? So we are revisiting that issue and making it very clear what the 14 days is, following the decision of the Constitutional Court in the UPND petition. And we're supposed to do that. Certainly we're supposed to do that as citizens. And that's what I refer to as learning lessons from the past.
Let's look at the
So
voting.
we're not undoing anything.
You have a plenary and you're voting. How transparent is this voting?
The act provides that the voting shall be by secret ballot. That any question on which the forum does not reach consensus will be subjected to a secret ballot. And that secret ballot will be conducted by the Electoral Commission of Zambia, not by any member of the forum. So we'll be calling upon ECZ to come and conduct the ballot. I can't see any other transparent system than that.
Meaning probably people will be protected from fear that they may be singled out in voting for or against a particular cause.
Exactly.
Now, the constitution that we have currently has a semblance of the people's will, as collected by the technical committee set up, I guess, when you were Minister of Justice in the PF. Now, there is a risk that Zambians rejected certain clauses, and these may come back at the NDF.
No. There are many articles in the 2016 Constitutional Amendment Act that I do not agree with myself. Okay? And we have done a paper in the Rainbow Party singling out those articles in the Constitution. So it is not true. It is not true to argue that this Constitution is the best. After all, you have heard from the formulators of the Constitution themselves, the PF government, saying that this is not the best of the documents that we must have. And therefore, we must have an opportunity to revisit it. And that's exactly what we are doing.
Now, I know there are issues, for instance, ministers staying in office after the dissolution of parliament. This has come back at the NDF. And this is what Zambians, I think, rejected this. Well, doesn't this amount to bring in things through the back door?
No.
Duping the nation. and Zambians were unanimous on certain clauses.
Look, look, there are issues.
For instance, they rejected deputy ministers, and they're not in the constitution.
There are issues. There are issues,
and all these may come back at the NDF.
You see.
So you are rewriting the constitution.
When you, well, the act says, read the act. The National Dialogue Act says the forum has the responsibility to alter, vary, review, confirm the articles in the constitution. That is the mandate of the forum. So when you say Zambians, are you excluding me? I'm Zambian, so I have a right, to speak to what I think should be corrected using my experience. As
a privileged Zambian.
I'm not a privileged Zambian. I'm not a privileged Zambian.
Of course you are. You're exposed. You lead a political party.
I don't know whether that's what it means to be privileged, but I can tell you that
you can get in the corridors of power. You can get at the NDF at least. But let's look at the Zambians in the villages. The Zambians in Mongo. The Zambians in
Buana, that's not how democracy works. You can't expect a forum which brings even a villager from the remotest village of Shangombo. It will just not be possible.
At least other technical committees have had provincial assemblies, provincial conferences that have agreed on some of these resolutions in the constitution.
We are dealing with articles that came from the same provincial assemblies. Okay, the 2016 Constitutional Amendment Act number 2 was derived from exactly the same district and provincial assemblies that we are referring to. What we are doing now is to look at how practical those articles that were put in the 2016 Constitution have worked since 2016. So we are drawing lessons from the application and the implementation of the 2016 Constitution. And obviously, in the last 3 years from 2016, we have seen lacunas, we have seen conflicts within the same of articles within the same constitution, and it is in the interest of the Zambian people that we revisit those conflicting articles, that we revisit those areas where there are lacunas, where there are gaps in the constitution, that we revisit articles which do not speak to each other in order to have a document that is easy to interpret, that is easy to understand, and that is easy to apply to our situation.
Why should Zambians sit back and relax and believe that they may not be duped by the politicians and sneaking in what they initially rejected?
Because there is nobody who is there with the intention of duping any Zambian. So nobody is steeped into any act of duplicity at the forum.
Isn't that a trademark of politicians?
No. I think that I want to live in a good society, Grevasio. I want my children, I want to bequeath the future of my children and grandchildren a society in which they can live in peace and in harmony with everybody else from other regions. That is my ultimate responsibility. So I can't sit at the forum to dupe the Zambians, because I'll be duping myself and I'll be duping generations that are coming in posterity. So I think we are doing everything there in good faith. And I think this trademark that politicians will always do everything in their interest, there's no reason why I should do anything in my interest now. Firstly, I'm not in the ruling party, I'm in the opposition. So obviously my interest is to sit with the guys in the ruling party and do what is right for our country. And I think that that atmosphere is very clear at the forum.
People may ask that, strangely enough, you seem to be speaking more than the ruling party. You seem to be wanting this process more.
I'm a Zambian. I have a right. Okay? This country is not for the ruling party, Bwana. It's for you and me and everybody else. And the ruling party may even be in the minority. So yes, I have to speak about the forum. Yes, I must be committed to the forum because I'm Zambian. And I don't have to be tagged along by the ruling party. I must make sure that I participate in the affairs of state of my country for as long as I live in this country. and ensure that I contribute to the creation of a peaceful Zambia, of a harmonious Zambia, of a Zambia that is unitary, of a Zambia that is not ethnically inclined, of a Zambia where Zambians don't look at each other, you know, from the dimension of regional angles. That is my responsibility.
Now, the church issued a statement recently, church mother bodies, stating that in principle they have nothing against the forum. Did that surprise you? Did it come as a surprise?
I'm pleased. Let me not talk about whether or not it surprised me, but I'm pleased that the church is coming around to giving an opportunity to the forum until the end product is rolled out. I think the church is being charitable, that there is every likelihood that we could see an end product from this forum which may meet the aspirations of the people. And to that extent, I'm very pleased to hear, and I was pleased to read the statement from the church. I read the statement that you are referring to, if it is the same statement. And I think it was a statement in which the church has toned down in terms of outright condemnation of the forum before the forum even comes to an end. And that basically has been my argument. I want to participate in the forum and make a judgment, a judicious judgment at the end of the forum, whether or not this was an act in duplicity. But I wouldn't have done that if I had not attended the forum.
Part. Now, the church still raises concerns, and I know, like you state, you've read the statement. One of them is that there's no guarantee to protect the contents of the outcome generated from the national dialogue.
That is a hypothetical argument. That is a hypothetical argument. Maybe the church is right, but we can't answer that question now because it is what we call a hypothesis in the social science. You can't answer an argument, you know, which is not based on facts. Okay, it's based on speculation. Maybe the church is right, but there is also a possibility that the church is wrong. So let's wait until we cross the bridge.
Wouldn't it be safer to put safeguards in place, other than speculate and wait,
and
assume and believe?
The NDF train has rolled out. Nyamuka station is going. So if you are not on the train, you haven't bought a ticket, too bad. You can only wave at the people that are on the train. Okay? So you have to wait until the train reaches Choma, if you can catch up with it. So let's wait until the train gets to its ultimate destination. And that's what I'm looking forward to. Another
concern here, MPs will have undue privilege at the end of the NDF process to look at the forum resolutions, because these are going to Parliament.
I can't see any honorable member of Parliament, Grevasio, who has participated in this forum for 10 days and he has voted on those resolutions that will be subjected to a vote, and the same man or woman goes to Parliament and votes against the same resolutions. I'll be surprised to see that situation. Again, that is hypothetical, and hence very difficult to argue for or against. Let's wait until we get there.
But the church is being cautious. I know that you may defeat some MPs at your plenary discussions, but then they'll go to Parliament and assume their initial positions.
All of us,
meaning they can still vote against what they voted for.
Yes. What I'm saying is that this is a matter of integrity. This is a matter of integrity. That those that are participating in the forum, they must, I assume, and I believe, they are honorable men and women of integrity. And they care about their character and their integrity. And they must protect their character and their integrity. And they can't do one thing today and do another thing the following day. I'll be surprised. But from what I have seen at the forum, the atmosphere that have been part to at the forum, I can't see anybody that would take that route.
But we've heard, as we watch, listen, and read newspapers, warnings from some of the opposition parties that have stayed away, the MPs, that they've warned, not in particular, not you, some members that will meet in Parliament. So meaning Parliament will be a showdown for
from the forum.
They're not from the forum, outside the forum.
Well, the ones
that's a real threat.
The ones that have not attended the forum, you know, and they are issuing threats that will meet in Parliament, they're just being mischievous. Okay? They're just being mischievous in my view. So, instead of issuing such threats, why didn't you come to the forum? If you are man and woman enough, come and face the others. Come and put forward your arguments.
You know that the people that have stayed away have called this illegal and a sham.
Look, I know that English is our second language. So, you know, there is a tendency sometimes to misapply words. You know, it is a sham, it is illegal. You know, if the process is illegal, you have the courts of law in Zambia. Go and challenge the process using the courts of law. But you can't be the judge yourself. You can't be the accuser of the forum and be the judge of the forum yourself. If indeed you believe, or anyone out there believes, that those of us at the forum are engaged in, you know, some act of illegality, they have the right as Zambians to go to court and challenge the forum. So far, there was an attempt, and that action was dismissed. So they had a bite at the cherry. Okay, is it a sham? It is not a sham, you know, because a sham is a process that is founded on serving the interest of exclusively one group. Is this the case with the forum? The answer, Bwana, is no. So you can spend time throwing about these words. This is a sham, you know, this is illegal, this is in the process, but you know, in the process, and as you are doing that, like I've said earlier, the train is moving. And wasala.
Is this a win or lose situation?
In terms of?
Well, we're at the forum and we'll win this battle.
No.
Shouldn't we be striving to achieve consensus?
No. That's what we are trying.
Bring on board even those that do not want to board the train, as you state.
Well, the choice to board the train is individual. Is an individual decision. The choice whether or not to attend the forum is certainly based on the conscience of individuals and the position that political parties have taken, or some positions which some political parties have taken. Okay, we know that there are some, you know, churches that have not come to the forum, and the others that have attended, that are attending the forum. We know that there are political parties that are attending the forum, and some political parties that have stayed away with the forum. But such is life. So it's not the forum that is divisive. It is individuals themselves that are withdrawing themselves from the forum. There's nothing divisive about the forum. The forum is all inclusive. If you look at the section that provides for the number of delegates, you know, it tries to be as inclusive as possible. But if you are included and you decide to exclude yourself, you can't blame anybody. Reverse. You can't blame anybody.
When you look back at the constitution-making process, in the past we've had maybe four attempts at refining the constitution.
Yeah.
And these, you would say, they've not really been successful. The Mongomba, the NCC, the Vunga, and many others. What distinguishes the National Dialogue Forum? What mechanism have you put in place that convinces you this is going to be different and it's going to be a success?
Look, in the past, if you look at the Chona Constitutional Review Commission, for example, of 1972, which led to the one-party state, the after the commission presented its report to the government issued a white paper. What is, a document which is called a white paper, which was a summary of what recommendations came through the review commission, and what the government has rejected and what it had accepted. Okay, and one of the fundamental areas of rejection by the Zambian people then was the question whether or not Zambia should become a one-party state. It was overwhelmingly rejected by the Zambians. But the UNIP government then imposed it on the Zambian people. And we ran with a one-party state, for 17, 18 years, if I'm not mistaken. What distinguishes this forum from the past review commissions? Again, firstly, it is the lessons that we have learned from the past. Okay, we have learned great lessons from the past. As a people, there is no white paper this time around. There is no grouping. There is no grouping which is exclusive. If anything, the grouping at the forum has attempted to be all-inclusive. So there are lessons that we have learned, that if you are going to succeed, and I've taken time to speak to even to some of my colleagues, from the other side, civil society organizations, Patriotic Front, and others. And you read this seriousness and this conviction that for once, let's do the correct thing. I didn't attend the NCC, so I can't tell the difference in the atmosphere between the NCC atmosphere and what I'm seeing now. But certainly, you see this underlying conviction in the forum delegates that for once, can't we do the right thing as Zambians and move this country forward? And I think that is very important for me, who is attending the forum.
One of the challenges the current constitution has is inconsistencies. Do you think there should be an independent committee of experts to look at what you resolve afterwards?
No. We have gone
to kill this element of inconsistencies that we currently face, the lacunas.
Look, the process is that at the end of the forum, there will be bills that will be rolled out by respective ministries. For example, the bill on the constitution will be rolled out by the Minister of Justice. The bill on the Public Order Act will be done by the Minister of Home Affairs, and that kind of thing. And then those bills will go to Parliament, and Parliament will then enact the law.
There was a concern on 10 days, and already we've noticed that the forum has requested for an extra 2 days. That would be enough.
Yes, we are human beings. So we thought that this business would be concluded in 10 days. It's our realization now that we may not conclude the business of the forum in 10 days. And
this is one of the pointers people would use, that you did not want to listen.
Listen to
as advocates and proponents of the dialogue forum.
We didn't want to listen
when
to
people said 10 days was not enough, you argued that, well, 10 days was going to go into the act.
No, but that's why we provide, that's why there is a proviso. If you look at there's 10 days, then there's a proviso that if, as we're getting close to the 10 days, we realize that we can't conclude the business of the forum, then the forum will ask the Honorable Minister of Justice to give the forum an extension. So we are just being human. We are not angels. We knew that we may not conclude the forum within 10 days. So there is a provision. So we are still within the law.
Maybe it's at this point that you should answer this question.
Yes.
A concern, it's in the public, of course, and I know there have been statements to the contrary, that you're getting allowances.
Oh, very good
and this
question.
was promised that
very
there would
good
be
question.
no allowance.
In fact, the act itself makes it very clear that sponsoring organizations, i.e. those organizations sending delegates to the forum will be in charge of the needs of their delegates. In other words, there is no money that is coming from the national treasury to be paid out to the delegates. So when I listen to people saying that, you know, I would rather go to my grave poor, you know, just go to your grave poor, you know, not because there are allowances at the forum. There are no allowances. You know, so this idea of trying to sound very principled, you know, out there, you know, for political capital, when you are misrepresenting facts, excuse me, it's just not the correct way, in my view, of playing politics. There are no allowances. You have heard, if you have been following what has been going on at the forum, you have heard the protests at the forum. There are people that were saying, no, if there are no allowances, we are stopping. So if they are being paid allowances, why are they crying loud like that? So there are no allowances that are being paid.
Do you think it's a good move that there are no allowances?
It is a good move because we know that we have economic problems now. Okay, we know that we have economic problems now. So for me, I was even happy that the Parliament, in enacting the National Dialogue Forum, abridged the period or made it as short as possible, so that everybody is committed to that period, so that we finish this business within the shortest possible time.
Here's another concern from the church. I know I didn't tackle this one, that the NDF Act does not provide for the enhancement of the Bill of Rights. Does this concern you, worry you as a lawyer?
Yes.
A constitutional lawyer.
Yeah. I think we need the Bill of Rights. We need the Bill of Rights like yesterday. But don't forget that it was we, the opposition parties, in 2016 that campaigned against the Bill of Rights. And that's why it didn't marshal the votes that were required. Otherwise, we would have had the Bill of Rights today. So we still need the Bill of Rights. But the Constitution, the old Constitution, we are still using the fundamental rights, you know, under the old Constitution. So all that we want to do, or what the Bill of Rights attempts to do, is to broaden the parameters of our rights as citizens. And I think that is a very important thing to do. And so I'm looking forward to the day when we are going to get the Bill of Rights as part of our Constitution. But that's not the fault of the forum.
Let's look at one other issue. The country's largest opposition, the UPND, has partially boycotted the forum. I say partially because a good number of the MPs are not with you at the Dialogue Forum. What do you make of this?
Look, if you are going to live on this planet, you know, if you are going to live on this planet thinking that the world evolves around you, you may end up a very sad human being, because it doesn't. The world doesn't evolve around any single human being. Okay? So, it is a pity, in my view, that the UPND, as colleagues in the opposition, and a few other political parties in their alliance, decided to boycott the forum. But I'm also happy that there are members of parliament from the UPND who realize, or who are of the same realization as me, that in order to prove whether or not this process is a wrong process, I must attend the forum. That I can't condemn the process if I've not attended, you know, the process. I've heard the statements coming from those that have boycotted. That sound like they are attending the forum. So I'm happy myself with the colleagues from the UPND that have decided, in their infinite wisdom, that they must attend the forum. And then at the end of the day, we can say to each other, was this worth it? Was it a PF project? did we make sufficient contribution for the betterment of our mother Zambia?
So then there's an issue of the act supposedly threatening the MPs that they would face consequences for staying away.
No.
Is that a position you would want to support?
No. Look, members of parliament are elected to represent the people from their respective constituencies. And what does that representation involve? To participate in the processes which would make this country better than it is today. Processes that would make this country more peaceful than it is today. Processes that would make Zambians living in harmony as a country. Okay? So, if you are a member of parliament, Grevasio, and you don't want to participate in these processes, then whom are you representing? Whom are you representing?
Should you be punished?
Well, I think you shouldn't be punished by an institution of government, but you must be punished by the people that elected you. I think there must be sanctions from the people that elected those MPs that have decided to walk away from the forum for reasons which are purely personal. They are not even national, in my view. I think the reasons are more personal than national. It's grandstanding, you know, so that they see that here is, somebody talking. But they are getting huge allowances, even when you have no evidence about those allowances.
We've heard these threats from people participating from the forum itself that these MPs must face the consequences.
No. I think there was a statement that was issued by one of the participants, and the way I read it in the paper said they may face sanctions.
Should they face sanctions?
I think they should face sanctions from their people.
Because even in parliament, they've got a right to abscond. They'll abscond and not vote. And they don't face the sanctions, do they?
Well, if you remember, last time the UPND group was punished for walking away from, or walking out on the president. I think they were punished.
Well, storming out is different from absconding, isn't it?
Oh,
you may choose not to vote on a particular issue.
Let me tell you this. Very few members of parliament would abscond because they need an allowance. So these principles, my friend, you see them, throwing around for most of them, are just not true. I was in parliament myself. What people would do is come and grandstand, posture around, okay, log in, and then walk out. But you see, once you have logged in, you still get your allowance. So they care, sometimes there are MPs that care more about their pockets than the people they represent. That's the truth of the matter.
I want to ask you this very important question. Do you think the process will achieve its ultimate aim of dialogue, which is national healing and reconciliation?
What is it? But I'm surprised.
Will the nation be more united?
I'm surprised that you are bringing this, this question at the end. Whom are you healing? Who is sick in this country?
You don't believe there's been tension in the nation?
What tension is there? I've not heard the people in Southern Province insulting the people in Eastern Province. I've not heard the people of Western Province insulting the people in Central Province. So whom are you healing?
Have you seen people fighting during elections?
Yeah, but haven't you seen people fighting in bars and the taverns? Do those need healing? Haven't you seen fights, fist fighting in pubs? Is
the violence we see in elections normal to you? Is that what you want to see?
It's not normal, but to scale it up, to a point where you are saying you need national healing is exaggerating the situation. Okay? So this issue of reconciliation, there is nobody out there that I'm supposed to be reconciling with. I have no problem with anybody in this country that requires reconciliation. And let me also tell you this. Reconciliation is a matter of attitude between or amongst those people that are supposed to be reconciled. And the case that comes in point, as I talk about reconciliation, is what is going on in South Sudan. How many times or have the two presidents, President, Kia and Macha is vice president, signed agreements to reconcile, which have not even lasted a couple of weeks. As we are speaking now, Vice President Macha is still not in South Sudan. Okay, he's still in exile, and there's no government there of national unity which they want to form. So reconciliation is a matter of attitudes. It can't be placed on the head of one person. It must take the attitudes of everybody that needs to be reconciled. But I refuse to accept the thesis that
of national healing
this country
and reconciliation.
This
is something the church has spoken about. You don't agree with them?
Look, I reserve to hold my own opinion about some of these theses. Okay, I think is exaggerating the situation that this country needs national healing. It needs national reconciliation. Yes, there could be a couple of people that need to be reconciled, and get hold of those people and reconcile them.
Now, put the other way, do you think after this process the nation will be more united?
Look, this process is not about uniting the nation. There's no divided nation. Let me put it that way. So we are not at the forum to unite the provinces of this country. We are at the forum to refine the legislation so that the implementation of that legislation is predictable, it is easy, and it creates harmony in the electoral process and everything else. That is what we are what we are doing at the forum. Okay, so the end product of the forum in terms of the constitution is not to create national healing and reconciliation. No, it is to ensure that the Zambian people have a better constitution than what they had in 2016.
So maybe the process has lacked clarity right from the start.
What clarity?
This is not all about dialogue, but about constitutional reform. We should have called it that, isn't it?
Look at the Siavonga. Look at the thematic areas in Siavonga. Okay, it's about the constitutional reforms, electoral process reforms, Public Order Act, the political parties bill.
All these ideally are about laws, and it should have just been constitutional reform.
Yes, but it's constitutional reform based on what? On people dialoguing. That's how the terminology dialogue comes in. So we must dialogue across the political spectrum of this country. That's what we are doing. There are people that I've never seen, I've not talked to in the last 5 years, and I've met them at the forum. So we are exchanging views. Do you think this is good for the country? Do you think this is the way we should go? And that's what dialogue. That's where the word dialogue comes from. It's actually about us talking to one another instead of talking to one another through the press. It's about talking to one another on a one-on-one or in groups, so that we do.
And you have to legislate to force these guys to come and talk to one another.
No. We didn't legislate. I don't think the legislation was meant to force people to come together. The legislation was intended to create a framework, parameters of this dialogue. Otherwise, we'll be talking, ad infinitum.
To close,
that was the purpose.
Do you have fears that probably your process may be in vain and may be frustrated by Parliament when it goes to the House after you are done with all the deliberations, put together documents?
I don't have the fears. I don't have the fears that the process may be frustrated by Parliament. I would actually be surprised. Let me repeat myself. I would actually be surprised if the same MPs that are there today would be the one to frustrate it. Okay? But I've heard the statements from those that have not participated that we shall not pass the constitution. So in whose interest are they doing that? To fix who? To fix their own people? I find that very strange, as a politician, and I find that strange, coming from those of us that are looking forward, to forming government in future. So you only want a process that is on your terms and conditions. That's the process that you want. That's the process that you consider credible. any other process which is not in your terms and conditions is not a good process. Then it is a sham. That's not how the world, Bwana, works. The world is not only about myself, it's about others also.
Why should Zambians and the nation support this process?
They must support the process because it requires their support so that the ownership of the end product becomes an asset to the Zambian people and not one group of individuals or one individual of this country. So Zambians should support this process and take ownership of this process ultimately. But that is not to say that what we are going to produce is a divine document. It could have errors here and there. It could have mistakes. It could have, you know, even as we meet, there could be one or two things that would have overlooked. But that is because we are human beings. We are mortal human beings, men and women of flesh and blood. That is the only reason that it may go that way. But for those of us that are at the forum, we mean well, and we are doing everything in good faith. We are talking to one another in good faith, out of mutual respect, and I hope that this process ultimately turns out to be the process for the Zambian people. And if indeed it doesn't, it will not be for want of trying. It will be because we have tried our best. And if it doesn't, it is not because some people stayed away. It is because, you know, we went that far and we needed more effort. And we can still revisit that process again, and until we get to a point where we are satisfied that this is what would save our country. But for those that are prophets of doom, I can tell you that they will be very disappointed because the process will turn out to be one of the best in the history of this country.
Mr. Kabimba, it's been a pleasure having you on the program.
Thank you very much, and good evening, viewers.
You've been watching Sunday Interview. Our guest this evening was Rainbow Party Secretary General, Mr. Wynter Kabimba. Till next week sometime, pleasant viewing.